Friday, Youth and Youth Leaders. Is it any wonder why our youth are confused, resulting in bullying, school violence, and suicide? As we have examined throughout this week, all of our institutions are seriously broken. None of them are currently serving the purpose for which they were intended, and all of them are sending mixed messages to our young people. Religious leaders and institutions founded on the basis of love and compassion in almost every case have become major corporations, generating billions of dollars every year and exercising power over millions of adherents. As a result, they are more concerned with protecting their power and financial structures and interests than in enhancing adherents' spiritual balance. Intolerance based on gender or orientation is openly preached from pulpits the world over, adding to our feelings of separation and division rather than unifying us under the banner of love, which is the purpose for which all of our religious institutions were founded. Government officials and policymakers placed in office to serve the greater good often are more obligated to the special interest groups whose financial support allowed them to be elected. Power and personal advancement have become more important than service to the greater good of humanity. Communication media reports focus on the sensational, and news broadcasts and movies are filled with violence, making heroes out of the most aggressive action personalities and glorifying war. Even their games and music are filled with violent images, while we try to tell them that violence toward themselves or others is wrong and unjustified. Their educational system does not teach them to excel or engage their passions. They are pigeonholed into narrow points of view and graded on how well they fit into the norm. Creativity goes unrewarded and sometimes punished. We must awaken to the fact that our youth reflect our own societal faults, our own fears and biases, our own intolerance of difference. Are we blind to the fact that our children are raging against the indifference, crying out against the abandonment, thundering against the neglect? From this excerpt from his Heal the Kids speech at Carnegie Hall, we know that our mentor, Michael Jackson, was fully aware that if we want to change the world we live in, we need to change the way our children are being parented, taught, governed, and informed. The only way to do that is to awaken to our responsibility to change the way we see ourselves and our parts in the greater play of life. Imagine, if you will, a great noise approaches our rotunda as the door bursts open and the room is flooded with children of every ethnic and national origin. These children encircle our huge round table, standing behind the seated religious leaders, government officials and policymakers, media representatives and educators. Imagine, if you will, that they are welcomed into the discussions, each representative acknowledging their right to be present, to have their voices heard. In this exchange of views, we learn from each other, respect each other, support each other. We learn to approach our discussions with a child's heart, and our children learn that they are an important and integral part of the change we wish to see in our world.